I have some questions unless somebody else has some questions first.
Can I close that?
Are we looking at the policy or regulations, Dr. Cuneo?
Go up here.
Mine was the regulations that I had questions on.
Okay. Were we good with the policy itself on there? It was just a couple very minor grammatical changes.
I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything in the policy. I have some questions unless somebody else has some questions
Oh, there it
first.
is.
All right.
Are we looking at the policy or regulations, Dr. Cuneo?
We're looking
Oh,
at.
no, sorry, you're hearing an echo.
The regulations.
Rita, you want to mute because you're gonna keep hearing me.
Okay.
Were we good with the?
The only thing I have a couple questions on the regulations. And they're not really questions, they're just clarify what it means to me, okay? On the regulation, on the technology usage, on page 1, where it talks about disabling content filters. What is submitting a ticket? I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah, so, and that's why it's in the regulation. So our process for staff, if they have a technology request, there's an online ticketing system that we use. Right now it's called JIRA. And so they would submit a JIRA ticket, and then that would trigger technology services team to begin processing that request.
Staff would know what that means, right?
Yeah, staff would know what that means. And so if they do an email, what's going to end up happening is technology services will take that email and enter it into the ticketing system, or their preference is that somebody would just go ahead and enter it directly into the ticketing system. What we were trying to avoid is having people submitting requests in writing or through other non-digital means that makes it a little bit harder to track through the process.
Fine. I just didn't know what it meant. That I figured. I didn't want to say everything was great if I didn't know what something meant.
Yeah, certainly.
I have another question on EHB/R2 on page 4, number 19. Using district technology resources to communicate with the news media or elected officials, unless authorized by the superintendent or designee. I understand the news media. Why elected officials?
So kind of the same thing as news media. It feels like if they're using their district email that they're speaking on behalf of the district.
Okay.
And not all individuals in the district are authorized to lobby on behalf of the district.
Okay.
Sorry, I guess I do have a question then. I believe we as board members are elected officials. Is that correct? Does that mean that they're not allowed to communicate?
That's a good point. So let's
excluding,
yeah, let's do that. Excluding the Board of Education.
I meant that's good. Yeah. Now, what this means is they could use their own personal devices to contact, but they couldn't use a district device.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Yep. They as the individual could, we just don't want them using district technology resources to do it unless they've been authorized to do so.
Sounds great. Anybody else have any questions on that?
Yeah, there's just a lot of modernizing we need to do. A lot's changed since 2018 in the world of technology.
Yes. I can't believe that.
The next policy is BDDB, board agendas, minor changes.
I didn't see anything in this.
Yeah. Added the virtual and in person now that we're in a world of virtual and in person.
I do have a question on that, Wendy, just not in the policy, but at one time, you could not vote virtually prior to COVID and all of this. Remember when we had meetings before, you could attend, but you could, if let's say, if you were on a phone call, you could not vote. But they said if you you could. Can you vote now if it was just a phone call and not
In
Zoom?
in the world of technology and now with Zoom meetings, I will have to get back to you on specifically phone, but on MSBA, it definitely, that's where I got the virtual or in person from, is to make sure that we're addressing both environments.
Prior to this, they had a deal where if we did it.
And we lost her.
Yeah, we could do it virtually before, but you couldn't do it by phone. I was just wondering, has that changed now? You could be on the meeting by phone, but you could not vote, and it did not count toward the quorum, is what it was before. Now they're saying virtually, and by virtual, they're meaning Zoom or WebEx or something like that. Okay. But it can't simply be by phone.
I will have to check in that specifically if it's just by phone.
I mean, I don't think we have to define it, but if you could just let me know, I'm curious.
Yes.
And I don't believe there's anything in Missouri revised statutes that would limit it. And so it most likely before was us limiting ourselves through board policy.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. I have no other questions on that.
All right, so public participation at board meetings.
Great. BDDH, public participation at board meetings here. As we look here to the document, there were just some minor changes as it relates to increase clarity and readability, and then of course maintain the transparent tone, and then also of course the typical designee, and then the capitalize the board.
Sounded good to me. Anyone, Dr. Macklin, anybody else have any issues with that?
No, it looked good. I mean, the changes that were there were.
Okay.
Next one's GCF for orientation. One little change, and that was fixing the B.
I had a question. So while we fix the B, should we fix the D for district? I noticed we're omitting that one on capital. We're not capitalizing the word district.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I missed that.
Thank you. I have nothing on that. Then our last KBAA. The only question I have is, I'm not arguing with it, but why the change? Did it sound better by putting that at the end instead of in the beginning?
Well, I think, when you talked about just for tone and for clarity and readability, just grammatically, when appropriate, these guidelines. And so that was just the initiate for the change.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. Dr. Asner, any?
No, that one was, I think, fairly straightforward.
Great.
Holy cow. This was an easy meeting.
Yeah, a lot of them were straightforward. Technology use was the big kahuna.
Yeah. All righty. Everybody, thank you. Stay safe. Have a good weekend.
Have a nice spring break.
Take
Thanks, you
care.
too.
Bye.
Thanks. Yeah.
Dr. Keenan's logging back on.
Oh,